Hi, I'm Mark and I'm all about psychology, tech and productivity, and today we're going to be unboxing and having a play with the macro lens and case from Sandmarc. Let's zoom in. So before we get started, here's a question. Pick your option from one of these guys here. So according to a survey from Keypoint Intelligence, a whopping 1.43 trillion photos were taken in 2020. And to put this into perspective, it would take one person over 45,000 years to reach this number, and that's if they took a photo every second of those 45,000 years. It's insane. And the same piece of research found that of all the photos that were taken in that year, 90% of them were taken with a phone, with the rest taken on a camera, and the remaining few on an iPad. Now, I am a keen photographer. I love my DSLR, but sadly, my own photo collection probably mirrors this research. Most of my photos are taken on my phone, which is why I think it's really important that whichever lens, phone, model you go with, and any add-ons that you choose are the absolute best they can be. As they always say, the best camera is the one that you've got with you. So I recently switched to the iPhone 13 Pro Max, and my gosh, the camera for photo and video is just phenomenal. In natural light, it's almost impossible to tell the difference between iPhone and a full-blown DSLR shot. And so Sandmarc very kindly lent me this lens to have a play with. Now, Sandmarc specialise in helping people level up their smartphone photography. And they have a huge range of custom lenses to suit all kinds of models and sizes. And each lens comes with a case too. So we're going to be taking a look at the macro lens. Let's unbox away and get into it. So each lens comes with an included case. Let's take a look. It's got a nice rubbery, grippy texture, and as we can see, there's an aluminium cover across the lenses which gives you enhanced lens protection as well as options to thread on the Sandmarc lens. Now, you don't get complete protective coverage. As we can see, part of the base and the top of the phone as well as those volume rockers are left a little exposed. So let's move on to see what comes with the lens itself, and wow, there's a lot in this little box. Let's take a closer look. So first up, we have this really nice little zippy pouch that keeps everything together. It's made from canvas and some lovely leather detail too with the Sandmarc logo. There's a little carabiner clip, and then another little fabric pouch here which doubles up as a lens cleaner with the rest in. There's another lens cloth, and the clip-on mount, we'll open that in a second. And then we have the lens itself, and as we can see, this comes with the lens hood and the front and rear lens caps. We'll come back to that in a second. So the clip-on mount is another option that allows you to use your own case and then clip one of the Sandmarc lenses onto your phone and just use it that way if you're particularly wedded to your case. It's nice to have the option, but as we can see here, it does obscure part of your screen, so I'm more of a fan of using the Sandmarc case instead. So that's the unboxing done. Let's get the lens on. Now, with a Sandmarc case, it's just a case of screwing the lens onto the threaded metal element and then you're good to go. You can add the lens hood on, which is designed to be the exact distance that you need to be away from your subject in order to get a good macro shot. Pretty cool. So one of the things you need to know before getting started is that you will need to download a custom app onto your phone before you can get started using this lens. Sandmarc recommend one called ProCam, which set me back $6.99, and I'm really glad I downloaded it because it essentially turns your phone into a full-blown DSLR. You get custom granular control over pretty much all aspects of your phone's camera settings, including white balance, ISO, focus pulling and more, and it works in both photo mode and video mode. It's a really, really cool little app and has allowed me to take some really awesome shots already. So I thought it would be fun to pick some everyday objects and shoot with the iPhone standard camera, with the macro mode, and then getting into the Sandmarc macro lens so you can see some of the levels of detail that you can achieve here. So all of the shots you're about to see have been taken straight out of the camera using the lenses they were shot on. So I've not done any post-processing. This is literally what you'll get as soon as you press the shutter button if you've got one of these lenses attached. Let's take a look. So it's worth noting that the iPhone 13 Pro Max is a little unusual here as it has its own macro mode built in. So if you move your phone close to a subject, it'll automatically flip into macro shooting in either photo or video mode. So there's no control over when it does this, but it's important to note if you've got any iPhone that's previous to the iPhone 13, you'll probably spot a much bigger difference between close-up shots and using something like the Sandmarc lens. So first up, we have a PlayStation 5 controller. Now those of you who've handled one of these will know that the grips are covered in these little PlayStation icons which you can't really make out from a distance. So here's the wide shot from my phone's standard camera, and then here's the shot taken with the phone's macro mode engaged. Now it's done a pretty good job of picking out these details, but we can see some blurring towards the bottom right of the image. It's clearly got a very specific focal area when it's in this mode. And then this is the shot with the Sandmarc lens attached, and the difference in sharpness is really apparent to me. It's not only covered a wider area of focus, but it's done a much more aesthetically appealing job of the lighting as well. Okay, next up we have this little pot plant which I found in the house. It's covered in cobwebs, and you can make out these pretty clearly on the wide shot, although it's almost impossible to focus on them. And then when we switch into the iPhone macro mode, I tried for about 10 minutes to get it to focus on one cobweb, but it just couldn't cope. I was breathing nearby, and every time the cobweb swayed, it threw the focus off, and it just couldn't do it. So on the other hand, here is the Sandmarc macro lens, which had absolutely no problem pulling focus to the cobweb that I wanted to take a shot of, and you can see here it's even showing individual strands, which is kind of crazy. And then next we have this foot cushion from our living room. I wanted to see how these woolly fibres came up under the lens. So here's the iPhone's macro mode, and actually I think it's done a pretty good job of this. The lighting is fine, a lot of the fibres are in focus, and all round it's quite an interesting picture. And here's the Sandmarc macro shot, and again we can see just what a phenomenal job it's done of picking out individual fibres and then pulling them into focus. So I also kind of like the darker elements and the range of lighting that's on offer here, and for me this is the best version of this subject that I was able to take a picture of. And then next up I moved outside where we have this little wooden storage unit for our recycling boxes, and here is the wide shot from the phone. And then here's the macro shot from the phone. And again, I think this is pretty impressive. Obviously the lighting is much better being outside, but if you look closer you'll see that the centre of the image is very well focused, but there is some blurring and some aberration towards the edges of the picture, and I'd have to crop this pretty heavily to get a usable shot. And then here's the Sandmarc lens, and although it's not quite as contrasty straight out of the camera as the iPhone's macro shot, obviously I can fix that in post, you can see straight away that it's way more consistent in terms of keeping that macro focus across the whole image. So as you can see, if you're into creative photography and you're looking for something to give you a very different perspective, this is a great choice to level up your smartphone photography. And this particular lens combo retails for $99 US, but if you're looking to pick up this lens or anything else from the Sandmarc store, the team there have very kindly offered all my viewers a 10% discount if you use the link in the description. Now, I do hope you've enjoyed this video. I've definitely enjoyed playing with this gorgeous little macro lens. If you'd like to see more like this, or if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below, and of course, maybe hit the like button or possibly a cheeky subscribe. I'll see you next time.